So we're going through the composition and the principles of design. Okay. Organizing the elements. So when we organize the elements in the picture, we are looking at composition. So it's how we are putting things together. Our elements of art would be our building blocks, and composition is how I put those building blocks together. So we have a combination of elements to form a pleasing whole. Very important to the success. So it's how things are put together. Again, I'm going to go through this quite briefly. If you want a more detailed explanation of these principles, the best thing to do is to go to the grade 10 playlist and go through what is visual arts. Okay, so when we look at composition, we look at an image and we have the picture plane. So we have composition divided into 3 planes. We've got the foreground closest to us, the background furthest from us, and the midground in the middle, or you can even call it the middle ground. Okay, what is the focal point in this artwork? If we look closely, we can also use the title as a hint towards this, the engagement of the Virgin. So the focal point would be the engagement happening at the front here. It is central, it is larger, and we have this action right in the middle of the picture. It's also the name of the artwork. Balance. So when we look at balance, we look at the way things are laid out. Symmetrical balance, the same on both sides. And remember, it doesn't have to be identical, but we should have more or less the same thing. So if we look at these 5 ballerinas, they are not the same on both sides. If we look at the elephants, their legs are not the same, their trunks are not the same. So it's not identical, but it is still balanced. Asymmetrical is completely unbalanced. So on this side, we've got a big wave. On this side, there's nothing. Her face points to the left. On the right, there is nothing. There's a tree on the left. On the right, there is nothing. Radial balance, like in maths, we get radius associated with circle. So radial is circular symmetry. Rhythm and movement. So rhythm can be created by repetition, and it's not necessarily that it makes my eye move like an optical illusion, but it guides my eye to a certain place. So that movement of the eye is created through movement. Emphasis. So that is my focal point. In this one, our focal point is the woman here. Okay, she is in this halo of white, and we also have all these lines of the tunnel pointing towards her. Unity and harmony. So that is the successful combination of elements creating an image that is pleasing. Contrast is things that are different against one another. So it's not necessarily black and white. It can also be size that is contrasted. So big and small, maybe colors that are contrasted. Okay, so it's a difference. Proportion talks about the size in relation to something else. So here we've got this dog that is massive and this tiny little cat. Okay, and then that shows us the difference. If the dog was by himself, we might say that he was in proportion, but because he is in this yard, behind this gate with this little cat, we can say that he is out of proportion. Pattern. So pattern is repetition, and it can also be a motif, so something that somebody uses. For example, Salvador Dali has ants in a lot of his pictures. And if you want to look it up, you can look up Salvador Dali and see if you can spot the ants in his pictures. Okay, then we need to start looking at interpreting and meaning. So this goes with analysis of pictures. So when we are analyzing, we follow a few steps. So first step is interpretation. This is where we use your own informed opinion. So that's the key there, informed. So that's where that comes in, that you can have an opinion, but you have an opinion that is either right or wrong. So your own informed opinion. Content is the deeper meaning of the artwork. Contextual factors is the time period that it comes on, maybe stuff about the artist that you might know. So it's very important that when we start studying artists that we learn about what their characteristics are and how they were influenced. Use the information that you have gathered and then defend it with evidence. So that's very important. Whatever point that you make, you need to make sure that you are giving evidence. Why do you say that? Look at symbolic meanings. So symbols, if there's a dove, maybe it means peace. If there's a heart, maybe it means love. If the color's red, maybe it's showing passion or bloodshed. Questions usually consist of two parts. So you will normally have an unseen artwork, which you've never seen before, that you are going to use your visual literacy skills. And then you're going to have an art or artworks that you have studied. So from now, even up to matric, those are how your questions are going to be split. And that gives you kind of an advantage because as long as you know your visual literacy skills, so your art elements and your design principles and how to analyze a picture, you should be able to answer 50% of the paper easily. When you're looking at an unseen artwork, there's a few tips that you can actually use to make it easier on yourself. First thing is study the captions. So look at what information is given to you. So it might be a little quote at the start of the question. It might be the actual information underneath the picture, giving you the title and the dates and the artist. Study those and try to gain as much information as you can from that. The medium is important. So look how it was done. Is it oil on canvas? Is it a fresco? Is it a sculpture? How was it created? Carefully consider what is asked and required in the question. So that's very, very important there. If you do not answer the question, you will not get the marks. So you cannot just take a picture and go through your art elements, your design principles, and expect to get marks if that's not what was asked. Same goes for if you're asked to analyze, you can't give the artist's biography and expect marks. Do not be obscure. Stick to the main elements. So don't try to be smarter than what you have to be. Beware of unjustified stories without any relation to the artwork. So if I give you a picture of a little girl, don't tell me that she was an orphan, she had a terrible day, she didn't have any breakfast, if it's not shown in the picture. Do not make up stories. And there you have it. That would be the end of our introduction to grade 11. You're more than welcome to comment below and ask any questions that you need to ask.